31, so Gavin gets on the board there. Killed off by the stage, everything gets killed off. Landis got in and getting in at the end. 12-7 and 1 was the victory. There, 3 stars for a top in favor of Colorado in the third final got 34-20 and 15 for Montreal. Johansson saved 19 out of 20 on Colorado. Bounced back victory over the Montreal. Canada only getting St. Louis, of course, this was without finishing. So it was going to play a minute. For 600 minutes, the Crocs were 3-1 for the Blues, and we're playing well. And then a lot scored from Cole and Santos 7-15, and that changed the momentum. They were having a hard time setting up. Barry Boulay with that denied set, they blast at the stage, both get a power play, the Blues held that off, but it's 100 Canada. Pressed by the Wolves for 4.5 minutes. Blues get a power play, that's coming up. Palat had a rush chance to fire wide, the game's opening up in the second half. Blues get another power play to score on this one. It is sought to put the puck in from Thomas and Burnett at 14:07. So for Thomas, that's 12 assists in the last 12 games. Robert Thomas, Sandlin, and Skinner at about. Blues press for another. The Wolves may get a power play, but we go to the third and tie at 1. Early press by the Blues, then there's a power play for Tampa, and they score on it. It's Sorelli scoring from Cologne at 4:26. There's only 5 seconds in the power play, so they right away. Then the Blues get a power play. They get on theirs as well. It's one of those rare cases where the power play goals will score against Tampa. It's the 7th from Burovich and Thomas. And Thomas 13 assists in the last 4 games. And that's a 7-15. And he wired it high and got 11. No chance for him there. Blues tried to answer, and it was Evans, the guy who takes the penalty. They catch the Blues back in the game. Evans scores for Merlin at 8:09, and then he scored on assist at 10:29. So he single-handedly brings this game into the favor of the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they can win this one 4-2. With 4 minutes left, it was a Blues power play, but Tampa killed that off. Here's 3 stars: Evans, Sorelli, and Thomas. The shots 13-8, Tampa the first, 15-12, St. Louis the second. Tampa 5 Tampa the third, final shot 35-28 for the Bulls. Power plays 2 for 4 in favor of the Blues, 1 for 3 in favor of the Tampa Bay Lightning. 25-23 in favor of the Blues. Husso saves 31 out of 35 and 1, and Vasilevsky 26 saves out of 28 shots for the other. This is what Vasilevsky does. That's a win. He makes 26 saves on 28 shots. He's not one of the 3 stars. That's the 6 stars. That's his role. Here you go. Vasilevsky's very good tonight. And why is that? That's the way it is. Alright. Go on. Buffalo. What is he more talking about? Oh, Tampa 13-5-12 is a win. St. Louis dropped from 12-8 to 1. So Buffalo goes into Florida tonight, and this was a very surprising start. And then David, that's probably going to shut out now. And according to this game, I thought, well, so early Tampa's power play gets unsuccessful, and then Hayes Groza scores from television. 3:21. It's 1-0 Buffalo. Cousins was scored from Alpozo at 7:41. It's under 5-6.5, but Boston takes it, and it's not great. And it takes another hit. Canada were in neutral. They were getting the ball time, they weren't getting the shots. And then the Buffalo did away, and on the 7th shot for Buffalo, they score again. It is Dennis Groza from Cousins at 14:25. They were not getting any answers. Last minute, Canada's press, but it's 3-0 Buffalo after the first period. So remember, all the 5 o'clock games get started, and I go, okay, so there has to be one game that's lopsided, and I'm going to watch everything except that lopsided game. It's not going to be good. So that's where I decided, okay, so it's Buffalo at 6, doing that. Okay. Second period, first chances for the Panthers. The second shot for 3-0 in the favor of 3-9. Yeah, Dell's strongest game at the Sabres. Until Carlson scores his first at 9:57. After the game is 2-1, no reason to panic. And then Middlesex, he scores his first of the season. For Maxwell and Yogi Hardy at 1:15. And Middlesex in the lineup and gets a goal. And at that point, because that's only the 12th shot and the 4th is caught in net for Rocky Douglas tonight in Canada. Reinhardt would then score 4-4 a little over a minute later from Carlson and Huberdeau at 12:32. And then Ekblad at 15 minutes and 40 seconds. That makes this game a lot more interesting also than 43. The Panthers get a power play, it becomes a 5-on-3, so I think it's like 10 seconds of 5-on-3. But yeah, so we go into the third period, X-Lab is last of the stage. Power play cycle. They didn't score during the 5-on-3, but 5-on-4 they do it. X-Lab from Uyghur invented at 107. That's the 35th shot on net for Florida. There were only 13 to that point by Buffalo Sabres. So the score is tied at 4, but I mean, Dell held for a while until the Danvers. So Sabres get a power play from the net resident defended his shorthand chance for Lundell and killed off, and then Lundell gets the goal from Verhaeghe and Ekblad at 8:05. All of a sudden, the score is 10. This game was 3-0 after 1, and now it's 5-4 in favor of Florida because A never can score out, and B no easily safe from Buffalo Sabres. Sabres get a power play, that's a no. 3:45 left to get another power play. They pull the goaltender in the final 2 minutes. Well, that allows Huberdeau to score from Reinhardt at 18:37. So that's an empty netter. I believe that's a shorthand empty netter. And then in 1955, there's another empty netter at Lundell, the second of the game from Verhaeghe and Uyghur. So Florida wins this one 7-4. The final score will tell you how careless they look after. Buffalo drops from 12-3. Florida importantly at 16-4 their momentum from back into the favor. 3 starts, Huberdeau, Ekblad, and Reinhardt. Shots 13-7 in favor of Florida in the first, 21-6 Florida in the second, 18-11 Buffalo in the third. So Buffalo did turn it on. Didn't get a goal in that third period. Final shots 45-31 from Florida. Power play, Buffalo 0-3, Florida 1-3. Hits were 16-15 Florida. Dell takes 38 out of 43 one end. For Russ, 8 out of 12. His night's done. And then Spencer Knight takes all 19 shots. So there's the one troll that says that Spencer Knight always allowed to go on that first shot. He's better than Spencer Knight. They say on Twitter. Tonight, Spencer Knight is the one. He's rude. So, such a good game. Alright, next up. Chicago. So this is an interesting one in that at the start of the week, it looked like, Washington was playing the best hockey in the NHL. Now, we'll see. We'll see at the end of, we'll see on Saturday whether they pull themselves back up to number one or not. Continues the upswing for him. I think this is a huge game for him. Early Ed was the cap. Was impressed by the Hawks, so they managed left. Flurry saved the chance for the combo. Cap get a power play, that was a no, and then the break it. The break it scored with 1 minute left from Kane and 7 hill. So that's a big goal. 1-0 Chicago after 1. Second period, Dallas scored the angle and Tampa in 1 minute and 10 seconds. After that, there's a close for Protus. Still kind of last for the state and then like Washington from the getting rolling. Things get strung in Captain and the Hawks come out of the power play and they score in the lead from the break at the dock at 12 minutes and 57 seconds. 2-1 Chicago. Ovechkin was then hit a post. Tate broke his stick on the bench in frustration. Still waiting for that first goal. So, yeah, playing stick. And I know it sounds weird, but yeah, playing stick. Anytime I just keep an eye on the score. And I go out to a street hockey or floor hockey game, I always have that just so that I think the stick's having a bad game. So, yeah, Tate breaking it. He's a little over the top, but absolutely. So Kuznetsov would score to make it 2-2 from Protus and Ovechkin at 17:31. I want to see Protus continue to put up points. Late power play from the Hawks. Van attempts tonight to break it and go to the third period. First minute of the third period, beautiful breakaway goal by Garnet Hathaway from Dallas, 57 seconds. So Hathaway stays on. I think that's his 17, 16 or 7. Shots were 4-2 for the Caps in 6 minutes, and it looks like, hey, so this game's gonna go with Capitals. No. Seth Jones scores from Slavin and McCabe at 11:56. You're hearing that right. Josiah Slavin made his debut tonight for the Hawks. And yeah, that's his brother, so Jacob and Josiah. Nice. Shots and goals were even with 5 minutes left. We can't really do this whole. This is a very simple play game. Hawks had 5 and Connor Murphy got hurt in the first period. He weathered that quite well. Flurry misplays on the Hawks for several. They go to overtime. In the overtime, the Caps control on the face-off. That's Jones fires wide on a 2-on-1 with the Hawks back on. Kane was handled once, but it was covered in. Kane and John Smith wide, Flurry, John Ovechkin, and then two hands off into the post. Ramczyk denies the break it, Hawks call a timeout. We'll get it going with a shootout. In the shootout, with the winner for Chicago, and so with the shootout win 4-3, the Hawks go to 12-2. Capitals with the shootout loss from 14-4-6. So wrapping up the 2 points in the total of the overtime shootout loss. So your three starters are DeBrincat, Hathaway, and Dow. Cross 98 Chicago in the first, 10-9 Washington in the second, the 7 Chicago in the third, 3-2 Washington in the overtime final count of 28-28. Power play, 1 for 2 for Chicago, 0 for 1 for Washington. The hit, 32-22 for Washington. Flurry and Vanacek both saved 25 out of 28. Like I said, evenly played game, entertaining, and now it's time to change something. Okay. I don't know what to say on this one. Maybe that's the new idea on Ottawa today. Maybe they're going to go on a tear. I don't know. I think this is an interesting game because if this is actually a case where I would say if you replay this game with the exact same shots and jacking up the game, you don't want to win. Might have won easily. Today's just like a Twilight Zone days of the game. Forsberg versus Toronto, early chances for the Canadians. But on the first shot, Toronto was in the net. 4 minutes from 10. 1-0 Ottawa. Trocheck versus 1 high to Kane's press. Then second shot of the game, that's nearly 9 minutes in. And also very good shot out of that first period. Fourth first save for Lawrence, rebound. James hit a power play. They were 0 for 16 in their last 7 games. They would break that over, but Svechnikov took 31 right with a shot block. There was a short-handed chance for Paul, and then a short-handed chance for Stanford that he fired wide. They tailed off. Canes are way ahead of shot. No way. Last time the Canes get a power play, there's a crossbar for Svechnikov. And coming out of that first period, Forsberg had to feel pretty good and pretty fortunate at the same time. Second period, Holden takes the goal, and Svechnikov's kill. Drops the team all in favor of Carolina in this case. Canes have 4 on-season net fires. Power play then for the Canes. Trocheck took 31. And through 40 minutes, there's 33 saves, and it becomes 34. It becomes 34 out of that. So, if Forsberg shows it's 1-0 in favor of Ottawa, even though they're being outshot by more than 3-1. So, third period, and you're expecting, much like in the Buffalo Florida game, the first. Senators get an early power play, that was a no. The Canes were pressed in 7 minutes. The Senators were hemmed in, they iced it. Senators scored, it was called no goal for goalie interference. So, Coach Smith said, no camera time, and it worked. Orman gets credited with the goal at 9:05. Rod Brindamore wasn't happy that goal got counted as a good one, but goalie interference was the result of Canadians causing that rather than Senators' problem. Canes then get a power play. Niederreiter can't bury one, but Carolina does. So they get that power play goal. Aho and Slavin with the assists at 12:02. And then at 13:47, Svechnikov from Aho. And we've got ourselves a tie game. The Senators call it timeout. And it's one of those things where you're like, well, I guess that's a good time for a timeout. But the Canes have all the momentum. Carolina's game. Nope, not tonight. Norris scores the fastest and it's a shot at 14:05, or will the top 3 down the skate down. Which I think this sounds better. The skate down is down to it. Anyways, 3-7 left. The Senators get a power play with 1:13 on the game, call timeout. They pull the goalie with a minute left. Could generate that tying goal. Ottawa with a shocking win over Carolina. This is why they play the game. Ottawa 5-15-1, Carolina 16-1. And this is a very concerning loss for Carolina. Ottawa, the 3 stars are gone, 4 first and Svechnikov to stop it. 1-3 Carolina in the first, 14-8 Carolina in the second, 15-9 Carolina in the third. Final shots 49-20 for the Carolina Hurricanes. Power plays Ottawa 0 for 3, Carolina 1 for 4. The hit also favors Carolina somehow. 32-27, even though they didn't have a time where they worked with the puck that much, they're still able to do it. Roger saved 17 out of 20. We can bring out that old meme about Roger needs to make just one of those games. And so Carolina's got to basically stick to the plan. Again, Forsberg steals this game. Normally Carolina will win it. So see what happens in the next game. Alright, next up. San Jose and the Islanders. And you know, this one actually ends up being disappointing. I have to admit, I'm kind of rooting for the Islanders to get the win at all. It was Hill versus Sorokin, and early, it looked like they were going to get that first one at all. Barzell and Green and Mayfield in 1 minute and 4 seconds. Crowd goes crazy. It's the first lead they've had at home. All the fans start out, and they really can't get going. Everybody's excited, right? Yeah. The Islanders press for another. Gadjevich goes down with the top block, looks at his ankle and foot. First there. Then there's a too many men call. Starts getting power play. The Islanders did let him set up. Dolan then fires one wide. And just after the power play ends, they thought. He scored to weather the Admire at 9-10. Remember when he couldn't get a goal? He doesn't. Fine now, he's got 4. He doesn't 4 straight games, isn't it? So that was just after the power play ended. Paul Mary, and then fires one wide. The Islanders just get there. Nice long stretch without a whistle. That is Islanders fun. When you watch the game, it's going very fast. As this team gets, and we kept enough games to start a half an hour later. That's Islanders fun. Second period, shot to 2-0 to the Islanders. The Sharks had no shots whatsoever in the first 15 minutes. Then they get a power play. That was a no. Johnson with the shot block there. He's up to 4 already. Halfway mark. Then there's a delay game call. That means the Sharks another power play. Short-handed chance for Beauvillier. He held off, but the momentum was all Sharks at this point. So Beauvillier third three high. Dropped their 2-2 at 6 minutes. Again, I was talking. The shots are normally kind of low. There's a lot of free flowing on, not a lot of whistles, definitely not a lot of power plays. Just how they play. Meyer tried gloving one in, would have been funny that time. Still wait on those cameras. It's just one of those. He's right at the net, he's desperate to try to get it in the net, so, he looked like he was making effort. Sorokin was really trying to steal this one, because San Jose was in control of this one. Things get started at the Sharks net with 8:40 left. Parise can't carry one. That's been the story this year, right? And it felt like overtime where you got 5 minutes left in the game. It really felt like this period went 5 minutes.
I am a fucking genius. I just traded 4 fucking Jack Hughes.
Islanders controlling the face-off. Beauvillier has a chance to go wide. And then the Sharks had a 2-on-1 and they put it in the net. That's what we're in second. Carlson will fire. So the Sharks.
Oh yeah, that's horrible. 10.5.
3-1 in overtime. With that overtime loss, the Islanders dropped to 5-10-3. San Jose now 13-9-1 and 3-0 on the road trip. The top 12 San Jose in the first, 15 Canada in the second and 7 in the third. Both teams had 1 shot in overtime. San Jose was the one that mattered. Final shot 35-25 San Jose. San Jose had the only 3 power plays in the game. Hit 30-20 in favor of the Islanders. Jones hit 24-25. Played very well. Didn't get into the season, but he played well. And Sorokin 33 saves on 35 shots at the other end. Did his best. And so the Islanders take it off to this good start. The crowd's all excited. And then it played quickly. I hope that they can turn this around, but we're definitely getting to that point in the season where it's going to get tougher and tougher. All right, Boston. It's funny when I'm watching feeds for games, and this one I was watching the national team, and they mentioned early on in this game, Boston's not their usual dominant self, so they're not getting the games. And I know that's the narrative that's out there. It's not entirely. first. Hallmark had some big teams, but the goaltending for Boston has generally been very good. The thing is, as folks are starting to see the Rask stats from past seasons, Rask was in the regular season. And so I think that's unfair to take Swayman, who's still a rookie, and make that comparison to Rask. Because Rask, his first year in the league, he came to game. And I thought it was appropriate that the score ended up how it did when I was listening to the national anthem and Boston goaltending. Early chances for the Bruins. They ended up hitting a crossbar as well. Predators had to get some pressure at 4.5 mark. Craig Smith got a nice video tribute during this game for his return to Nashville, and I'm recognizing what he did for that.
Well, my draft is nice, so I still have my first for this year.
They scored it. David Rice. He scored for Smith and Coyle 14-38. Fourth goal was Stephen for the West, and then he got the on board. Last minute, the Bruins passed. So it's 1-0 after 1, and Boston had a very good road period. Second period, 30 seconds on a turnover, and through a screen, Saros can't make the save. Carlos scores from Howell. So big goal there, makes it 2-0. Boreal was down on a hit from Janelle. Didn't quite hit, but Boreal was down. The shots were 8-2 for the Predators. They didn't do that pace that they were beating a lot earlier. Bruins were almost up 3-0 with 8.5 minutes left, but fun check out. Physical game by both teams to this point, although the pitch won't tell you that. In the second period, especially late that series goal. 20 seconds left in the second period, the Bruins get a power play. So we go to the third. Bruins, Bergeron was denied, Polino was as well. The Predators going. Bruins was cut after it was done. Forsberg was rushed down to the save, things get kind of struggling after that. All of the breakaway, he didn't take a coach. Howell, of course, is always in the national crowd. Attack.
Dan, tell me about the decision to use press this week. We want to offer, first off,
I wanted to say I have been watching pretty regularly on Twitch, doing some semi-editing, greatly sort of chill, and it's overall playing the game to watch. So if you guys want to interact with me live, go follow me out there and have notifications on when I'm live. That way you don't miss it. Thanks guys, enjoy the video.
This one's
It's time for another best team, and I suggest you guys take it to a nice snack and get comfortable as I present to you the best team for draft types. The rules are the same as always. A Pokemon can only appear once on one of these teams, so if you don't see a size of it, then it's very possible you'll see it on the best team for water types, so don't lose faith. I'd like to mention for you all to keep in mind, as always, is that these types of teams
Game chat and interactive Cole Perfetti as well, so you know how like the 1-2 punch down the middle for
and all strategizing is built to use ultra setting notes. With that out of the way, let's go down the loop.
just like Crosby now.
So the Browns at Pokemon, you've got a bit of a limited selection when it comes to what megas there are. In this case, with this best team, I was limited to just 3 choices since I had garnished up here on the best team for Dragon types way back when. That means there are only 3 other options. Those being Mega Swampert, Mega Camerupt, and Mega Steelix. Now, no offense to Mega Camerupt, but it just was not what I was looking for on this team. The problem with Swampert and Camerupt is that they carry a 4 times moving steel type, whereas in the case of the former and water, the latter. However, Mega Steelix isn't actually times 4 weak to anything, and that is what won in the spot as his team's Mega. Mega Steelix has quite a few resistances thanks to its Steel typing, and its weaknesses aren't all that difficult to overcome either. Almost this whole team is going to have its hands but in the case of the more dangerous ice types, Steelix is going to be a great wall to handle those moves, as it will take neutral damage from that type. You don't want to sleep on Steelix's defense, as it is nearly at 500 of any investment in PvP, and that is incredibly impressive. There are 2 things you can usually expect in Steel type Pokemon, and that is high defense and slow speeds. And boy, is Steelix built up to that. The only unfortunate part of these is its lack of truly great special defense system. But we can't really expect it to be that high when that defense is based on we've got to go ahead and give it some boost to its attack speed here. As well, Steelix will be a great wall to protect against the ice typing for the rest of the team. It's going to be able to fight anything else. It already has a base 125 attack, so the 2 P2 PvPs into there are going to be a big addition, and the other 2 P2 are going to be a big screw. I also decided on lowering Steelix's speed for obvious reasons, so I made it brave nature to add on to the attack stat. With all that worked out, Steelix will have 354 HP and 383 attack, making it an all-around physical monster between the attack and defense. Being as it is on a ground type there will be a sandstorm in effect at some point in the battle, and so it's the Sandforce ability will be putting that to use. With Sandforce, all it still is rock, steel, and ground veterans will do 1.3 times increased damage as long as the sandstorm is up. It also won't take any damage from the sandstorm thanks to this ability, though that was already the case with this ability. Megaskeleton's units are Earthquake, Ironhead, Gyroball, and Stones. As you can see, I went and gave it a move of each typing that is boosted by Sandforce, so that we can make full use of those boosts. Earthquake will open things up here, and that's going to be boosted up for 195 base power out of Sandforce and stab attack related, making it absolutely nuts move that will for sure deal ferocious amounts of damage to its opponents. This will serve as a great threat to fire types that may try to go through those skills, definitely knocking out just about all of them with one hit to still survive any of their attempts to take it out. Ironhead is next, and along with its 30% chance of punch, it's going to be able to boost up to 156 base power. Making it the move to turn 2, we need to pave the way for the rest of your team to battle safely without the worry about that ability. Gyroball is the next skill in the set, and it's another skill technique that works very interestingly, making them move stronger for some abilities than its opponent. I made it break this reason. Version speed down to 58, so that means
I'm just signing out.
it's hard to calculate the base power of this move without knowing exactly what you're facing up against, so you're probably going to be in very good shape if you go for it against a extreme fast like Alexander and Selton. The final move in this set is Stonehead, and while it won't receive the stat boost, it's still going to get a boost from Sandforce that brings its base power up to 130. Stonehead has a high critical hit ratio, so this is yet another good option that is super effective against both ice and fire types. Also, before I move on, I'd like to reiterate that in order to achieve the base powers I mentioned, you need to make sure you have a sandstorm. If you don't, the moves will hit hard, but not as much as you'd like them to for sure. With how much skills there was in having a sandstorm up, I guess it makes sense to move on next to Generation 4 and the provider of that sandstorm, and Abaddon is best known for being a maker of sandstorms, so it fills the bill quite well as an offensive supporter that sees to it that you can get the most out of skills. And Abaddon's ability is Sandstorm, but it also has a unique ability that just so happens to be Sandforce. If I were to get a little few things, I'd have probably given it Sandstorm as a move, and let me use Sandforce as well. But it just makes more sense to let the weather turn immediately instead of wasting a turn in building it up. If Abaddon doesn't resist as with the Steelix, but it's only got 3 weaknesses, those being ice, grass, and water. Being that its greatest task of importance is to make sure there's constantly a sandstorm going on, it definitely helps the things that it doesn't need to worry about too many super effective moves coming its way. Speaking of keeping that sandstorm going on for as long as possible, the item that Abaddon is holding on to is of course going to be the Smooth Rock, which causes the sandstorm to last for 8 turns at a time. When it comes to the stats, Abaddon will be receiving the same boost skill extent to its attacking HP. The name of the game here
I could use a veteran, sure.
Abaddon's biggest job is to make a sandstorm.
Give him a 2-year contract. Or 6.
The 252 EVs for the HP and attack.
I'll give Alexander a chance. Play 2 years. One.
Nice, respectable 3.
And for the last
If Abaddon has some
one.
big defenses already and 118 base defense, so I didn't see a real need to add on to that. The moves as glorious and hit the working into battle are Earthquake, Slack Off, Stonehead, and Ice Spec. Earthquake is an obvious choice for any ground type to have in the moveset. As thanks to stat, it's got a base power of 150 and serves as the primary attack source for Abaddon and many other Pokemon in this type. Slack Off is a necessary form of recovery as you want to keep Abaddon ready to come in battle several times to keep replenishing the sandstorm needed. Abaddon will get 50% of its HP back every time you use a Slack Off, so there's a pretty good chance that it can last long into a battle as long as the recovery is used properly. Stonehead is next, and that's covered for Ice type Pokemon, albeit not with the best accuracy. Even still, it was necessary to include something with Ice type.
Joel Edmondson, how good is he right now?
I didn't make Stonehead a fine option. Ice Spin rounds out the set, and now will help
That's so
Abaddon
long,
stab
still
up
in
grass
one,
types
huh?
with this 10% chance with 1 2 for each opponent. These recovery teams and in order itself and the both can work together well alongside Slack Off and keep Abaddon live for a large part of the battle.
Oh, I was still waiting on Dalvin to sign, okay.
But the Pokemon I'm not really a fan of, but one that made sense to include on a ground team, Torterra. Torterra is a walking target grass type, and that grass typing really helps balance out the water lineages across the team. It's got a turn 2 in that regard, and it's got a pretty nice ability to us, that being Shell Armor. Shell Armor prevents Torterra from being hit by critical hits, and that's definitely more useful than Overgrowth, and it's boosting of grass type moves. There's some good physical growth on Torterra, and it's been the case so far on this team. And if you're ever using it as a physical attacker,
Yeah, I've tried trade up White this year at deadline. Probably get rid of him. I'm sure somebody would love to have a pair like that.
Torterra is going to be holding a leftovers as well, seeing as it can inevitably take
Oh, piss off.
and that's what need to be restoring some health at the end of the season. I'm sorry
My God, okay.
I had a lot to say here about
That's fine.
I was not a huge fan. It fits here, but that this were the best team for grass types, which if you guys want, you can go totally check that out. There is never a chance of it occurring on that team. Torterra's usefulness is situational at best, and they just happen to be in the right place at the right time with its appearance on this team. So Torterra's moves are Curse, Earthquake, Seed Bomb, and Leap Seed. Curse is a pretty interesting setup for Torterra. It gives you the option to lose a stage of speed and gain a stage of attack and defense. If you were to use Curse just once, Torterra's defenses will go up to 508 and its attack to 382. I figured that since we have Steelix to take on ice types, that we didn't have to worry about them too much with Torterra, and that's didn't bother too much with its special defense. So that results in Torterra being a slow but already invisible tank that only needs one or possibly two Curses set up to become a potential sweeper. Earthquake is a move you've seen enough on this team, but there's no doubt about it being the best ground type move, and thus I couldn't really put together the set on this roll attacker without including it. That stab boosting 1 to base power cannot be ignored. It helps Torterra threaten those other Pokemon, especially after the first attacks down. Seed-Bomb is going to be a boosted 120 base power from stab, and serve as another good option for general attacking, just so you don't have to beat away at your Earthquakes too much. Plus, Seed-Bomb can actually hit flying types, albeit not that great for good damage. Honestly, I'd say if they're against a flying type and aren't very set of a curse, battle for as long as it can with that recovery of the chief of its HP at the end of every turn. Like I've said already, I'm not a fan of Torterra at all, but I can't deny it holds some place in this team and can come in clutch for you guys if you use it right. This next Pokemon is the final one from Sinnoh that I have for you, and it's another one of those new evolutions to the prior Pokemon that were introduced during the 4th generation. Gliscor is one of the coolest ones that was introduced as part of that group, and I was really excited to put it on this team. Gliscor is yet another Pokemon that unfortunately doesn't want to deal with any ice types, though for the set I put together for this one, it won't end up fearing any other Pokemon. First off, I gave Gliscor their poison ability, being that as long as it's poisoned at the end of each turn, it's going to be getting 8 of its HP back. Now you might be asking yourself, why would I put all my faith in having a certain status condition occur to make this Pokemon work well? And if you're asking that, then you must have no idea about a Toxic Orb. A Toxic Orb is a held item that is exactly what you think. It badly poisons the holder of it. Under normal circumstances, unless you, for some reason, are running a flame, this would be an awful item to ever put on your Pokemon. However, in the case of Gliscor, I'm using to help activate that ability, and constantly having a good chunk of health returning Gliscor after every turn. I'm also going to be distributing EVs on Gliscor a little differently than normal, giving you 256 EVs in HP, 184 inch defense, along with the infestation, and 72 inch speed. This spread gives it 354 HP, 365 defense, and 244 speed, making it a wholly defensive Pokemon that we're going to be using for selling tactics throughout the battle. Toxic, Protect, Stealth Rock, and Brick Break are the 4 moves that make up this moveset for Gliscor. Right off the bat, I'm sure you guys noticed there isn't any stab moves, but it wasn't really necessary to have one as a stab move, because ground and flying don't really cover ice. So anyway, Toxic opens up this set, and it's absolutely imperative to have this Gliscor. It's meant to stall out its opponent's poison damage. You'll want to use it immediately when a new Pokemon enters the battle, and get rid of it even for the long haul. Thankfully, Gliscor will also have Protect at its disposal, so it can avoid taking any damage every other turn while trying to stall out the opponent. Stealth Rock is a move programmed to benefit the entire team as a whole, since it will shave off a quarter of most Pokemon's health when they switch in, and in the case of Pokemon like Charizard and Moltres, half their health. It'll help Gliscor's case of stalling if Pokemon are coming into battle with it, and losing a good chunk of health immediately. Finally, there is Brick Break, and that is specifically there to combat ice types. Gliscor probably won't survive an ice beam from a strong special attacker, so it's important to have a move that gives it an actual shot at taking one out, and Brick Break does just that. I'll say as often as I do though, that leaving Gliscor against ice types is the worst case scenario, and if you can, you should just get him out of battle if he's up against one, especially a fast special attacker. Following up Gliscor is a legendary Pokemon tree Nova that shares its typing, Blinders. Now you may be expecting this to be the variant form, but that just isn't going to be the case today. Instead, this is just regular Lightning, and that's just fine, because it's just as good in this form. As a matter of fact, this guy is going to be the first special attack we have in this game. But before I get into all that, let's talk about its ability. I have 2 options here for ability. One of them being that Sandforce ability that we've gone over before, the same one that still exists. That would have been a no-brainer to select since they've got the Sandstorm set up, but the main ability is even better. Sheer Force is going to be the Landers has, and with Sheer Force, all moves that it uses, that secondary effects, will get a 1.3 times power boost. And I'm going to make that even higher by involving the Life Orb. When Sheer Force and Life Orb work together, Landers will actually not be hurt when attacking, as it would usually be due to the effect of lightning. That's a really great upside, and it really makes Landers incredibly strong. So I hope you guys can understand now why I decided to use this form over its variant form. It's a simple fact that Sheer Force Force and Life Orb are a much better choice heading into the game. So for the stats, I have given Landers 252 EVs in speed and special attack, along with the timid nature. Those boosts give it 331 speed and 329 special attack, both of which are pretty solid and will be put to good use when involving a boost that will come to some of the base power of the boost. There aren't exactly good defenses on Landers, so you could possibly slip into the role of Blast Cannon, but I'll leave that up to you guys to decide instead of ignoring one myself. What we're working with on Landers is Earth Power, Sludge Wave, Focus Blast, and U-Turn. Earth Power is going to be the strongest move Landers has by far, seeing the boost with Life Orb, Sheer Force, and Stab. Normally, Earth Power would have only been 90 base attack, and a 10% chance to lower the opponent's special defense, which is a pretty great move that boosts. However, after they're all applied, you lose the 10% chance of lowering special defense, but gaining a base power of 228, and that's a pretty great trade-off. You won't even need to lower your opponent's special defense that way, because a move with that much power mixing in with Landers' special attack just screams one-hit knockout to you. That won't be the case with every Pokemon, but this is pretty good regardless. I'll caution in saying, though the multiplication process with those three boosts does get a little tricky, so that might be a little off, but I think it's pretty close if not spot on. Next up is Sludge Wave, and that move is going to serve as a great coverage move against Fairy and Grass types, more so than it just being a good coverage move for those two types. It's another great move to just use in general, as its base power goes from 95 to 160. You won't have the chance to cause any poison effects now, but it's a fine trade-off for having so much power. Focus Blast is a next move that is also going to see a power boost in Sheer Force and a Life Orb. Focus Blast isn't the best move in the world due to that 70% accuracy, and accurate with the bird to handle ice types, much like with Blast Orb. But the amount of power behind this move is too much to ignore. Focus Blast sees its base power rate from 120 to 202 in the blink of an eye, and that is bound to knock out just about any ice type that it uses. Much like with Life-Score, I'd suggest just getting the heck out of battle and avoiding ice types like Flame. Though Focus Blast is a gamble just in case you have no choice but to face off against one. Though if Landers isn't your final Pokemon and you've got options to switch out to when an ice type hits the field, you can look no further than U-Turn to help you out. Unfortunately, the 70 base power of U-Turn doesn't get a boost from Sheer Force, but it still heads up to 91 base power thanks to Life Orb. However, since Sheer Force isn't in play with this team, Landers will end up taking the 10% below their HP. It's a small price to pay to avoid getting knocked out by ice type. We're going to finish this team off with a quick trip to Alola, as we include Mudsville on this best team. Mudsville follows in the footsteps of several team members before, as being a bulky, physically defensive Pokemon that will be able to take hits and hit back very hard. It has two options at ability though, as its usual one stands above the others to become an obvious choice, and in this case it was Stamina. With Stamina, Mudsville will gain a stage boost to its defense every time it takes a hit. Since I don't plan on putting any of these into the 236 defense stat it has to begin with, it'll put the 354 after this one hit and 472 after two. The other two abilities are Inner Focus and No Tempo, but both of those pale in comparison to what Stamina can do for Mudsville's longevity on the battlefield. Speaking of its stats, Mudsville has a pretty great attack stat at 125 and some good HP at 100, so I want to focus on those. With Stamina up against defense already whenever it gets hit, it makes sense to give it more bulk of HP. So I made Mudsville adamant and gave it 252 EVs in attack and HP. Mudsville's HP goes up to 404, which is definitely good, but what's more awesome is that its attack will boost it to 383, tying it with Mega Steelix as the hardest hitting Pokemon on the team. However, that's not good enough for me, so I decided to give Mudsville a choice bet as well, in exchange for being locked into a single move for the rest of its time in the field. Mudsville's attack will skyrocket up to 575, and it will not look back from there. You're going to be hitting everything with a lot of power will also be able to take 20 physical hits, and that makes Mudsville a dark horse candidate for MVP of this team. And that putt was totally intentional. The moveset for this final Pokemon starts out with Earthquake, and is followed by Rock Slide in close combat, and ends on Heavy Slide. I've talked way too much about Earthquake already, so I won't dwell on it. That 575 attack stat using a 150 base power move is going to be hitting ridiculously hard. However, if they do switch into Flying type, then you have Rock Slide to work with, which has 75 base power, but also 30% chance to flinch. So even if you don't manage to take them out with only one, there's a good chance you can flinch them out if you happen to move first for some reason. So I wouldn't expect that with Mudsville's invisible 1 in 6. Close combat is next, and if you extend your stage defense and special defense, you'll be able to hit basically anything that Rock Slide and Earthquake either can't or are incapable of doing a lot of things. It's a usefully powerful move to have in the set. Finally, there is Heavy Slide, and that would be the most useful move against ice types that I can imagine besides maybe Iron Head. If you run these Iron Head, that works too. But Heavy Slide hits a lot of Pokemon for a lot of damage, since Mudsville's so heavy. It's definitely the superior move in this case, but like I said, either works. Well, that's going to wrap up things for the best team in this league. Just like with the skill typing, ground types pride themselves on good defenses, and you know the usual advantage. The best offense is a good defense. I want to hear from you guys though, so please let me know what you guys think about this team in the comments below, and if you use it, let me know how it goes. Leave you guys with this in the team that wasn't included. Love and everything down below. If you enjoyed the video, why don't you like and subscribe to the channel notifications on. That way you're missing nothing. If you want to support me further, consider following.
Oh, another gift destined for the garbage. Just more sustainable giving. Give it to your kids.
Hey guys, before we get started, I just wanted to say that we have a gaming channel and an anime channel. Mystical Gaming and Mystic Sage. If you like gaming, go check out Mystical Gaming, and go check out Mystic Sage if you like anime content. Links will be in the description below and in the iCards above. Since it's finally starting to cool down a bit out there, I figured for those of you who missed the summer, I'm going to step up. That being said, gather around and warm yourself up as I bring you the best team of fire types. Remember to stay hydrated and keep in mind that things are still the same as always with best team series. The biggest rule here is that a Pokemon never appears more than once on one of these best teams. If you don't see Typhlosion on this team, then you're not going to see it at all on any of these best teams. But alternatively, if you can see Volcanion, there's still a chance it will pop up the best team for water types. A big thing to mention for you all to keep in mind is, as always, that these typing teams should be viewed more as teams to have decent fun with rather than something you should take into the content here. Now let's enjoy some fun in the sun and put you right into this best team. When you think of fire Pokemon, there's probably one entity that flashes in your mind before anything else. Charizard. It truly is the quintessential fire type, and quite possibly the most famous Pokemon on the freaking planet after Pikachu. I honestly couldn't have dreamed of not including it on this game. So here we are. If you're familiar with this series, you know we tend to open up these games with a Mega Pokemon. And this is going to be no different. However, Charizard is one of the bigger Pokemon that has the option to evolve in two different forms. So the question now becomes, which form will we be using? Well, I know that Mega Charizard X is the more popular option due to its technique and design, but we will not be featuring it today. Mega Charizard Y is a group test choice for constantly getting huge plus in this team, and it's merely one of quite a few different option qualities that Mega Charizard Y brings to the table. It's an absolutely special attacking machine as well, looking at the base 129 special attack, which is the best percentage special attack stats in all of them. You guys already know that when I see a special attack that high, I'm going to improve on it. So I went ahead and took 2 strategies and put them right in there to bring up the special attack up to 470. And then I included the Monastery to score right up to 458. It took me a little while to decide on what I wanted to do the other TVs, but I never really decided on sticking this with the speed, so I think I'm going to get Charizard that is speed boost. It's especially useful when it comes to shooting some Pokemon. The moveset put together for Mega Charizard Y is going to be Flamethrower, Air Slash, Solar Beam, and Roots. Flamethrower is the premier move on this set. Mega Charizard's best possible move to the form. Flamethrower's power goes to 135 exit stat, but the same thing base route, it'll get a further use between energy base power. It's almost unfair to bring up that Flamethrower still features a 10% chance to cause a burn. But a power like this, your point may not even survive long enough to get burned. The next move is Air Slash, which is yet another move taking advantage of stat, going from a base power of 75 to 112. Unlike Flamethrower, Air Slash isn't 100% accurate. This type carrying a 95% accuracy. While having lower accuracy than one would like, the 95% still isn't that bad. But Flamethrower is a nice trade-off for a 30% chance of one-shot burn. When it comes to taking advantage of stat, there's a few testing issues and really bring to the forefront of what makes Charizard Y and Major threat. The third move was a pretty obvious one to conclude, being Solar Beam. It provides the only real weapon against the biggest weakness Charizard has, the Rock types. Solar Beam is base 120. Thanks to Drought, it doesn't have to change. So all Rock types are going to get absolutely smacked by a powerful Solar Beam. It's also helpful against Water types, which aren't as much of a threat as they normally be against Charizard thanks to that sun. Finally, there is Roots, and it's really helpful to carry just in case you're switching on rocks, something to that effect. Plus, when you use, it'll make you less weak to the Rock type, which definitely helps matters. With a move set like this, Mega Charizard Y is bound to throw a major wrench in the opponent's plan, but looking at several other Pokemon. Next up on this team is another Surf Pokemon, this time coming into Generation 4, the Flame Pokemon, Burning. Part of the line of fire-fighting Pokemon starters, Burning is quite possibly the best of the three if you don't count Mega Blizzard. When you take a look at this truthful, you'd probably be able to figure out what to do with Pokemon like Burning when you get the Iron Fist ability. You might as well call this a Tyson theory because it gets through feathers all over the place, and it doesn't care what happens to you. Before we get into this though, we have of course got to check out the stats. Burning is very solid, attack and speed, both over 100, and just fine to be boosted by creatures. With that being said, we're going to get 232 to both the attack and speed stats, as well as having a fun intelligence. Burning's attack will be 307 and its speed is 346, proving it big time to be a monstrous weapon against the opposing team. Before I forget, I want to touch on this item, the Expert Belt. The Expert Belt will make the moves of Burning that do super effective damage deal even more damage, 1.2 times increase to be exact. Would you look at that? Burning was working with the 4 apprentice for this moveset, those being Fire, Thunder, Power Up, and Fire. Punch. Each one of these moves is going to get boosted by Iron Fist, and that's what makes him brand so special. Starting with Fire Punch, it will see its 75 base power, and watch it first be boosted to 90 by Iron Fist, and then once more to 135 thanks to stab. Partners with a strong move and possibility boost with an extra build and a 10% chance to burn the opponent, it can also a fantastic game to beat the turn. Next is Better Punch, which offers tremendous coverage against two of Brand's main uses, water and water effects. Unfortunately for his Brand, it doesn't match the Ice Punch, so it can cover another one of his weaknesses being threat. But sometimes you just need to work with what you're lucky enough to have. Better Punch ends up with 90 base power thanks to Iron Fist, and with an extra built boost will turn it up to 108, and that will definitely cause some damage to blast throws and pitch out of the world. The third move is another one taking advantage of stab, and a move that will boost the attack of inverted every time it hits. Power Punch. When Stab and Iron Fist are added to things, the base power of this move rises up to 72. But the bigger reason it's on the set is for that attack boost. Anything with just one single power punch will raise the Brand's attack to 460, and another one will make it 614. This is definitely a punch worth carrying, and you can easily find yourself in a situation that sits you up the canter of you and make your friend unstoppable. Finally, there is Knock Punch, another move that will receive the same boost as Power Punch did, bringing it to 72 base power as well. This is purely here for priority and allowing you to finish off the opponent if you've got them on the ropes. You see what I did there? Have them on the ropes like a boxer. I know you guys laughed, that's for deny it. How about we stop and Unova the next few Pokemon? Starting with a pretty similar brethren, Darmanitan. A pretty popular Pokemon in its own right, Darmanitan has been one of the hardest physical hitters the fire typing has to offer since its introduction to Pokemon Black and White. It's got a pretty interesting capability as well, one that lets it transform into a mysterious Cyber that completely changes its stats and layout. Rather than messing around with that ability though, we're sticking to sheer force. Also, just because I like the idea of hitting ridiculously hard this Pokemon, I play the Life Orb on it as well. The combo of sheer force and Life Orb is too good to pass up, and it's going to cause most of the moveset I've picked out to hit like nothing else in this team. With the base 140 to work with, a decent 95 speed, Darmanitan unfortunately has no real defense to speak of. This of course means it'll be our signature glass cannon on this best team, but with how hard it'll hit and the speed potential, it'll be fine. The 222 EV is going to attack with speed, it's running up to the Jar entry, giving Darmanitan a 379 in attack and 317 in speed. With such a great attack, boost from an ability, and item against 1.3 times each the base power moves, Darmanitan is going to be a physical attacker that can come in handy and absolutely wreck the opponent at any moment just so it requires. Since we're going to be using sheer force and I put on the Life Orb, I have people on the moveset that mostly can take advantage of. The first two moves on this set do, and those are Flare Blitz, Fire Punch, and Zen Headbutt. Well, the last move doesn't, and that's starting with Flare Blitz, there was unfortunately no way to stop the loss of HP that comes with using it, causing 30% recoil when you max. That of course means you can't use it as many times as you might like, but it's a move that has a pretty good chance of connecting for a knockout for hitting only once. Flare Blitz starts out at 120 base power, but following sheer force and the Life Orb, it'll go up to 202 base power. We've got to set up some more thanks to stab, making Flare Blitz staggering 304 base power. It'll be worth it giving up a good chunk of your health if you can use any other Pokemon with a move like this. But if doing massive damage in exchange for a big chunk of health isn't the only thing, don't worry. You've got Fire Punch here that will be some good damage, and that will start it out. Fire Punch normally would give you a 10% chance to burn your opponent, when it connects and have a 75 base power. But since we're rocking out the interesting circumstances that we are, none of that is true anymore. Instead, there's no chance to burn it. After all multipliers, Fire Punch's base power shoots up to 190, making it a fantastic general move to use in the battle against all Pokemon that aren't playing. Finally, there's Zen Headbutt, which provides some general coverage. It gives Darmanitan a move to use against Pokemon that resist Fire Punch. Zen Headbutt gets boosted up to 135, unfortunately not getting an extra through Scout. That really puts it over the top. That's alright, as hopefully you're not going to find yourself against many Pokemon that resist this some stat boost. The final move in this set is the 70 base power U-turn. It's the one move that isn't just a sheer force. As basically Life Orb is sheer force, going up to base power at 1. However, it will end up causing the Life Orb damage since sheer force isn't there to negate the negative effect. U-turn is merely featured on this moveset to keep you from needing to battle with Pokemon that would do work against Darmanitan anyway. So trading off a little bit of damage for Life Orb is fine if it means you won't have to lose his powerhouse to knockout. In Black and White, there is a place called the Relic Castle that lies deep within the Desert Resort. Outside the entrance to this castle, funny enough, is the only place you can catch Darmanitan in the wild, and it's sent points. However, if you journey into that Relic Castle and enter the deepest chamber, you will find the next Pokemon on this team, Volcarona. With the interesting typing of Bug and Fire, Volcarona is definitely one of the strongest Pokemon today due to Unova, and it's primed to be set up and act as a nuclear bomb Pokemon on this team. It doesn't have much to do with its physical effects to attack, but the other three main stats are things I will be looking to take out. To start, I want to bring up that I give Volcarona the 20 body ability, so if the Pokemon connects with an attack to it, there's going to be a 30% chance of it breaking though. However, if you want to use Storm, that's fine. The whole reason I didn't bother picking myself is because I had chosen to that Volcarona will not fall beneath the 1/3 mark of the base speed, but I digress. Either will probably work just fine, and it's up to you to choose what you like more. So moving on to its stats, Volcarona's got 135 in special attack, 105 in defense, speed, and make it modest, bringing the speed up to 299, and the special attack to full 405. Volcarona is honestly going to just bring the hurt to the opponents with such high special stats, and I'm going to make one sure time. The item we're going to be using is a focus attack, for reasons I will address momentarily when we get to the set. And also Volcarona alive, guaranteed for this one turn, as it will allow Pokemon to survive a game with 1 HP, 24 at the game of the Pokemon knocked out. The set is headlined by Poker Dance and is followed by Fire Dance, Sponge Buzz, and Gazers. This new set is perfectly built to cause massive damage to any Pokemon. Though I'd like to preface things with this, we do not have the default user on this team. So much like Charizard, there is a chance Stealthrox will absolutely ruin Volcarona. Honestly, that is the biggest problem for the Fire Dance in general, the Rock type. I'm going to say that if it has a Rock type on the field, I wouldn't even bother swinging Volcarona yet. This team has checks and stuff like that, but I wouldn't push the envelope if you don't have to. Let's get into these reads though. Starting with Providence. This is what happened in Focus after school, giving you a chance to get up with Providence immediately and boost your special attack and special defense, all with speed by a stage. Final stat line is going to be 6 or 7 special attack, 37 special defense, 448 speed. You're going to be eating like a truck after just one, and probably outspeeding every Pokemon you come across. And all of that thanks to the Focus Sash, giving you a free chance to use it when the Volcarona gets in the field. Nothing in Pokemon is quicker than the detailed Stealthrox being a problem. Priority moves could end up knocking out Volcarona. I wouldn't worry too terribly about that stuff though, because those things are things that you may only need to worry about 10% of the time when you have this Volcarona out in the field. Fire Dance is the next move in this set, and it's going to be working hard to make Volcarona get harder as well. Its base power is boosted up to 120 next to stat, and it's got a whopping 50% chance to raise Volcarona's special attack by a stage. If you connect to the Fire Dance after using Providence, not only will you hit the ability to Pokemon hard, but there's a good chance to level 6 or 7 special attack to 810. And at that point, the opponent better have 6 of the block type, but we're not fully on the road to beat the slide. Both is next. This one is to 135, and yet another great new Volcarona can turn. It's got 10% chance to lower the opponent's special defense, and if you choose to use Smaller Volcarona, then Buzz's usage whenever Volcarona is at under 1/3 of his HP. Its special attack is going to get a 1.5 boost. It's a bit ridiculous just how these moves will affect Volcarona's power, and literally turning into Volcarona and gun silver. Finally, it's Gigatron. You're one limit against the rock types that can absolutely annihilate this whole run. This is a massive special attack stat. Gigatron becomes very viable. It's a more likely one that any rock type you go up against, even if you only got one boost. You're going to end up recovering 50% of the damage you do as well. Giving Volcarona will give a very steady visit with each team. This is no doubt the most dangerous Pokemon of the team, and one you'll want to focus on building up for the next one. We're going to go back to the second generation of Pokemon for this next team. That being the legendary beast Entei. Entei is a fan favorite thanks to its design, and it became the focus of the third Pokemon anime film. So I felt pretty inclined to look at legendary anime. There isn't a whole lot to talk about when it comes to Entei, and when it does, it's all relatively basic. It's going to give 115 base attack and a decent 100 HP. People will just use it as yet another physical attacker that complements the special defensive wall for hitting hard. I give Entei 250 DB to boost attacking speed, and then be able to add an injury to keep it strong. Entei now has a 361 attack and 299 speed. Honestly, improvements that will only make better by quickly using it. And it's not truly locked into 100 pieces. Entei will see its attack raise up to 545. Like I said, Entei is a very basic Pokemon that's more here to 1050, and because it is super duper good. But it's a great fun Pokemon for either cleaning up opposing bonds that are near death, or just when you need a certain matchup that one of its uses. Also, Entei is going to be using the Cruncher bonus. It's going to eat our focus for the event, and we try to not deal with events that way. Entei's new set is going to open up a Holo signature move, State of Fire. Bulldoze, Iron Head, Stone. These are a set of strong moves, so I'll have a purpose against the multitude of different typings, but I'll address as I get to them. Sacred Fire felt like an overrunner with Entei, especially since I did include Holo on this. It's going to have a boosted base power of 150 because of stat, and it carries with it a 50% chance to burn the opponent, making it a great move to turn to if you're getting against another hard-hitting physical attack. Bulldoze is next, and will be one of the 2 checks that you set as the rock. Venom maybe gives this whole team a bit of a problem, so I want to be sure I still have the deal with this as second move. At only 60 base power, it is the weakest of his moves, but it comes with a nice perk. An automatic drop would be for that speed. This can make or break a battle if speed drops for one of your other Pokemon, being able to counter that speed whatever the opponent has out. Next is Iron Head, which I have for more coverage against rock types, but also for those hard-hitting fairies and moves. Fire is lucky in that it will resist the typing, but this Pokemon will stop some crazy ways of hitting very hard, and being able to put forward a strong base speed move. Counter is incredible. Also, as I always enjoy bringing up, Iron Man has a 30% chance to plant, which could definitely be a great chance to crit, and it can work at switching against flying types, Volcarona is out, and possibly multiple. Like I won before, Entei is more so on the speed because I felt I could not make the best team. That's not proven. So I make the best of what it is capable of. Hopefully you guys understand and respect this decision, and get a lot of usage out of Entei with this team. It is now time for the final Pokemon in this team, and it's a bit of a back in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, casually routing on some major booster power with the introductions of Primal Force. More notably with Groudon finally getting the fire typing that heads or default left. It ended up with an incredible survivability distance land, which creates never-ending sun that prevents all damaging water moves and weakness, thus preventing Grotto's biggest weakness from actually doing anything to it. Also, can I just say how cool Desolate Land's Japanese name is? Land of the End? And why do you think we have gotten something that cool? Right. Anyway, Grotto needs to be holding your red open in order for it to go primal, so that's the end it. As for stats, its spread is pretty incredible, boasting one of the highest attack stats in the game, almost some great physical defense, and a very usable special attack. I'm doing things a bit different, spreading the 504 available EVs across 3 stats. Trying to raise a few to balance out Grotto, and Trevor thinks it'll really be able to put more game on the field. Alongside the mild nature, I gave Grotto 2 12 EVs in special attack, 150 in speed, and 124 in special defense. Grotto's special attack actually ends up surpassing its physical, cutting out to 427 against the latter's 396. Those are a couple of absolutely stunning attack stats. I look at speed, special defense already over 250, and suddenly set to be a mixed attacking threat. So looking at this incredibly powerful Pokemon, we've got Sword Stance, Precipice Blaze, Rock Tomb of Eruption. Sword Stances include help boost that Grotto's attack, since we didn't do anything with it EV ones. And this one Sword Stance is going to raise it up to 854, which is a pretty big deal when talking about our next team, Precipice Blaze. Precipice Blaze is Grotto's stat for its ground typing, having boosted 180 base power. It only has 85% accuracy, which isn't exactly what you want, but it's something that can be dealt with in exchange for the amount of damage this move will do should it connect. Rock Tomb is next, and that will serve as a check for some of the very same Pokemon we have in this team. Mega Charizard Y, Volcarona, and Ho are all just a couple of Pokemon that will more than likely be one-shot by his Rock Tomb. It is also very useful for just slowing down the opponent, as there is a guaranteed stage drop in speed when it connects. Finally, we have a special attacking move on this move set, Eruption. It's a stat boost to 225 power, and it's Ground's running speed. Albeit the power of the move goes down steadily as Ground is built in. I've taken steps to improve its defenses, so it happens at a slow down rate, but it's still something that will definitely have to develop. And with that, things can finally start to cool down a little. The fire typing is really interesting, and there's a lot of cool options to choose when building a team. And I had to pick carefully, as there are some Pokemon with fire type that are definitely going to be appearing on other teams. And that's being the featured in. As always, I want to hear from you guys. Please let me know what you think about the team in the comments. If you use it, let me know how it goes. Would you guys do anything differently? Has there any Pokemon you've ever seen in the team that wasn't included? Let me know everything down below in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, why don't you like and subscribe to the channel notifications on. That way you'll never miss nothing. If you want to support me further, consider following my Twitter. There's a lot of Pokemon content, content related to the content like Zelda, Fire Emblem, and much more. Want to support me further engage my first? Check out my Patreon. Dan Milligan, Lady Crimson, Memory Martin, The Lazy Leo, Captain Young, Awesome Lego, Jeremy was Awesome, Sudden Grider, and 819 Senator. And I want to thank that person who owns Above and Beyond. Even used the world. I think I'll wrap this up though. I'm just sitting up there and I will see you in the future more awesome Pokemon content.
This is your host. This is your family / gift. The guest bedroom. 5 games, one starting at 7 o'clock Eastern, the last one starting at 10 o'clock Eastern, so it's spread out as well. Nowhere near the chaos from last night. It's the best last night, 9 games on at the same time. And I was glad when I looked at the time, I was like, why did you mention this? Why did you mention that? I was love to see that game. I've seen this one. The other one I always love that too is when they say, actually, this is this guy, and then this record is this record. It's like, I'm not going back and redoing the thing. Do that, like, you know, I post a 45-minute review, and then I'm like, oh, this was wrong. I redo the entire review. So, got 5 games. I'm not tracking any of this anymore. Just look here, all of this is my thing. So it's not like I'm writing a bunch like that. Alright, next game. We're San Jose again. We're looking at the Rangers. Starting things off. We're in the Rangers. The Rangers are 14-43. Playing very well. San Jose coming off of an overtime win on Wednesday night. This is the first of 2 incidents again on the Then moving on to the Fox, the Fox, the Devils were 9-4, and yet the Jets were 10-4. The Jets were expected to be better, and Jersey further on where they were expected to be. And so we'll see whether or not Jersey can consider that coming off the loss last night, which should make them a little bit hard up to the Jets. The Jets are good. Somebody's got to get them going. We're taking a shutout against Arizona. That's way fun. This is the first again on March 10th. Then it's 9:30 Eastern, 10:37 Eastern. Games are all spread out. The Vegas Golden Knights 12-10, and again, so they're about Coyotes 5-2. And they're competitive. That's all we can ask for from the Arizona Coyotes. Not necessarily winners, but competitive. This is the first of 3 meetings. They'll meet again on February 25th, and they'll meet on April 9th. Vegas Golden Knights were now at 12-10. Vegas are going to make this win. They need to get themselves on track. Arizona proved to be a spoiler again tonight. Well, Vegas will have some questions. And I understand people are doing protocol and all that. And lineup and most of the time. So we'll hear this tonight. 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific. The Calgary Flames and the Anaheim Ducks again. They met October 18th. Anaheim won that game 3-2 in overtime, leading it with Calgary. Calgary's home record and road record is completely different. On the road, Calgary has 14-4-5. That wasn't pretty good on the road again. So they'll be looking to win the second time today in California. And the Ducks at 13-3 will be looking to stop that. This is the second of 4 meetings will be together December 21st, 12 April 2nd. Then at 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific, Seattle Kraken 12-10. So they're humble of both for the first time ever. First meeting between the teams is November 1st, and the 5 wins the Oilers. That was also in Edmonton. The Oilers 16-5 on the season, fantastic record. The Seattle Kraken is 13-2. They've been 4-1-1 in their last 6. We'll see how they go tonight. The last meeting between the teams will be December 18th, also taking place now. So there you go. Let me know in the comments section below. Feel the way you see tonight, and if you like it, subscribe. Browse the YouTube, have a fun video. Yep. Weapon
obviously a glade. And because of that, usually Battle Axe and Skyrim would have a reach of 1.3. However, this glade, the heavy axe, has a reach of 1.35, meaning it has a slightly longer reach than all of the other Battle Axes in Skyrim. However, for some reason, the speed is only 0.6 to 0.7. Now, these are actually really don't have to see much. You're going to be hurting people very hard with this weapon. It actually has a base damage of 25, which is the same as a dangerous battle axe. A Dragon Ball battle axe, for comparison, has 26 base damage. So only one will this weapon first. To get this weapon right to the start of the game, maybe eventually the best two-handed weapon to get early on, only one of the best two-handed weapons to grab early. Now, actually, in shots, that's where the number is interesting. So you can see currently the engine screen that has no enchantment. It should have an enchantment. The big part of it says there should be one. And that enchantment would be that it does 20 points of stamina until you get any more hits. So every time you hit them, once they have this, they're pretty much what you want to block your attacks. The other effect that it has is doing 2 points of bleed damage for 5 seconds every time you hit the enemy. So it's actually 2 times 5 is 10 points of bleeding damage in that 5-second duration. So that actually makes this weapon a unique artifact. However, the bad thing is that you cannot actually enchant it. You're going to be blacksmith rhinestone and then using an orcish ingot to actually improve the quality. Now, obviously, my blacksmith skill in the character is pretty low, but you can use the restoration of blacksmith potion points to try and increase the damage as much as possible. Without the early game for a two-handed warrior, this is one of the best weapon choices in the entire game, so I definitely recommend picking it up. But to actually start this quest, you need to go and visit any inn in Skyrim. I'm going to go to the back there. Ask about boots. Come on, there. How does it come your time to the conference? Looking for work, are you leave? Here. Are you bound to work like a helper? It's all in this room. Here we go. Let's get that water. So after you exhaust all the miscellaneous quests that you give you, we'll eventually give you the velocity of watercraft, which is the quest we need for this specific weapon. The secret's given us this letter from Sturgaz and Rabattle, however you pronounce that. So all the capable warriors, a group of bandits and stolen subjects of great value to my family's kingdom, their headsman's cleaver, and they fled to Skyrim like cowards. We believe they're remnant members of the Green Cap bandits. There's been a thorn in the Queen's side from the day she was born. Our sources tell us that their home gun is what's like hideout. And the Queen's strongest knights have been tasked with retrieving it. However, if I don't survive, I have to eliminate these bandits in her name. The Queen will allow people to steal the cleaver to the one who vanquishes her oldest enemy, Daggerad and Rabattle. Sounds like quite the character. So now we need to head over to Lockmine hideout and eliminate bandits. The time we were here, one run to Lockmine hideout is around the edge of the break of the world. Here on the map, the wrecking sounds down the river built with hell. Let's go ahead and start telling us. Here we are at Lockmine hideout, and the dragons are approaching. So you must make a swift entrance into the cave, watching the line of safety, carrying temporary safety of Lockmine hideout. The weapons need to on this particular endeavor. You can already see some bandits having a conversation up ahead. Those are bandits we're looking for, though. The bandits. Take them out, we can move to the safe account in a very simple way. First, we need to get rid of these bandits. Surely we did not have power.
I'm not losing my city to the delusions of some second-rate dinner.
And then we can open the save account. See how that goes. And that like they have to do it. The real reason is this place. We're going to have to count it up there. We take out the way we are, so trivial to do by hand. Well, I can't see anywhere to fish down there yet. We'll check it out momentarily. I'm actually going to sneak past these guys for now. But what I want to do is slow my shot. There's a long-range shot on this guy. Take out this guy and shoot this lady over here with a triple sneak attack. You got all the deals we did about the page, link down below here in the description if you're interested in checking out. Now you're going to finish up this guy. Get wrecked, son. Oh, what? The green cat bandit is still alive. Anymore, those dead now. Very possible. So we're going to have to do that. Firing like 20 hours at once and then working in 6 months. So they have got the fishing supplies here. There's also Charles Collie. That's a 2-deep fishing supply for that fishing boats. But when they see what they buy, this is dead bandit. So these are the really bad bandits that I assume might be able to play the high zone, playing with no ball game traffic. And it's kind of like games with the time zone that require you to like wait 3 hours to progress by opening a chest or pay money, you know. That's not my kind of gameplay that I enjoy. I like to buy a game and play the whole thing. But sadly, that's kind of like what the other sort of play is like. Let me know if it's changed. Like, oh, it's changed. I just like ran past this trip by it with a hidden feature. Luckily, it was my face. Now, there was actually a secret exit out of here, which I think is going by the link. That later. This down from here, and it goes on, so that's going to take out that. We have to stand this. Do they hear this call, or will they average by this law? I mean, I just know the bandit is down with a name, but it's like it's a top away to the end. We can still do some shitty players every time. And that's what it's like to be done. Ooh, what's he sitting on the chair? Watching the dog? Interesting. Ah, you lady. Oh, I missed her. Oh, 2 long pins. Just in case you're not open. Hello. Now the technique is on playing a Star Oscar. There's still racist as well. And looks like they can look at those one person sadly that it didn't really work out. Now we have a little treasure out here. Nothing nice to see. Exactly as I suggested, we now have a captain and we know where the box is. Teach them a lesson. Also take out these bandits for standing up in that first hour after the initial. Now let's look to run. You know what they I'll get this. Right, ridiculous off.
Yeah, I think Colin White needs to be traded. He's traded. Yeah, he's gone at the deadline. He is gone at the deadline. Salty boy. I'm worried to take a D-man. I am worried to take two D-men.
It's not that it's kind of this one. That was something. And here we were talking about the question. So this is a dark water snake boss, apparently. Shadow's German. I've always suspected the dark water snake is my older brother, Ergo. The fact they would take on that monitor made it all the more. It may be that the same poison around his grandfather's glove is what made him betray us. All due to the mistakes of our ancestors. Sometimes I wonder. It seems like he's in prison and dead. There's another character's tale. The dark water snake. And this is just a green cap bandit, not the main enemy. Interestingly, after he killed the sky, there's a clearing point, which would mean you have to go over and jumping, but we have the main boss is still there. So, here's the fighting arena. Everything there is. That's going to have to do. We're playing Xbox, it's quite quickly. Let's tell them this is the video. We need a proper battle. Let's go on, let's drag this away. Here we go. What we want to start. There's a bit of confidence when he's attacking us like that. I feel like it's really, my trust is too much damage there. Get out, you silly boys. So I can finish. I'm not sure what I'm actually called. Here we have the fearsome enemy in Skyrim. I like enemy. Let's see what happens. Here we go. I like enemy as well. And look right there. We can just carry on stacking here. Oh my god. Legendary difficulty 2 difficulties. Wow. I've always featured my little brother in everything. Cards and better hands. Rules like one. When he breaks off the rough part of the field, Castle, I will always be the first in each defeat. Honest evidence between myself and my brother was a really perfectionist, and I was confident. He never had wanted to beat him at everything, and he played me with a combo police warrior. But my brother didn't care for competition. As a perfectionist, he simply wanted to sharpen his skill and would work with others who he thought would better himself. Others said that's why he originated the better ruler. My brother would forever try to improve our family, whereas I would pretend to be better than the next man. Well, let me really know the next man will be. I'm going to enjoy talking to each other. Grandfather said and may have failed to reach humble fame, but it will reach her heart. Jesus. So that's now his brother's journal makes sense. It didn't make a lot of sense to me the first time I read it, but damn. And then you have the heavy cleaver. There's 27 damage. Look at like 2,900 gold, meaning its value is insane. And it seems like the reach of this weapon is actually a bit bigger because of the size of the blade head at the end there. But I'll probably look at the stats in a moment, but let's quickly get out of this dungeon. So as you can see, we follow the river outwards. And now we can drop down into this cave below. Before we do, there's some family reward to take out there. Oh, yeah, big skill kit. Thank you. I'm not legendary difficulty. You can see my back. What the thing is good. It's someone there. Oh, there you are. I'm reading the list. Let's get out on board and go down now. I want to figure out something else before we end. There's a lot of slower for that. Looks like it's a bit over it. There you go. You found out. Really. Oh. I didn't know what that photo weapon is. Yeeted it out of the hand there. That's helping to these are rolls that they see and die easily. And this over here, drop down. We just block. That's the objective essentially. Before we do, we have to jump into this cave below us. Now to offer some fish by hand, the giant fish here, and a tripod spinner fish. Rare description is Skyrim that we have in the end. The secret part of the world of cave though, we will find another treasure chest with a scaled form armor. And a chest with a similar like that, and has a lot of things and silver mayhem. Silver mayhem always gets on the cross. Then we see the scaled form armor is actually one that you see so much of is wearing. Now we have to put it on ourselves. And it has a dead ghost. Like, accidentally just wrong say. It looks so weird. The head of the tree definitely looks like a poetry weatherman scene a lot of combat, as you can see from the details of it. So let me know what you guys think of this weapon. like other questions like, hey, obviously I haven't played the other stuff today, so the nostalgia side of things wasn't there for you. But if you have played the other stuff today, you just let me clean through that question side. I know that the other stuff today, you kind of
Oh my
the rest of the there, and you know the concept of that game. So you know, I want to really create this one concept. If you go to the anniversary edition, check out my other video links down below. See my thoughts on this one. I'll do that one. Bye. Yes, those numbers are grouping, and I'd like James to start it. They're alongside H-Witches, Spell Swords, and other burning or too late. I can't help but weep for the lady at her station. Still, I will not allow them to access the armory. They undeserve the honor of wearing the sacred garb. To do so means they are an extension of the goddess. Our bodies and souls belong to her, and are fortified by her divine magic. So it was for my ancestors, and so it is for me. As such, I will not see my lady's hands covered in dirt. The matriarch may have granted them a place on the day, but while they stand eye to eye with me, they are still beneath her. So, beneath her, I would slay maybe not one of them, but I stayed my hands for her sake, as long as they are loyal. Legally, I will allow their arms to remain free against their sword and flesh. Damn, son, he's savage. An ex-body, so this was Emperor. He doesn't have a journal, and this is the lady with the mushroom on his head. Got his roots of destruction, read around watching his helmet. Oh my god, it's so funny. Like the crab show, Mr. Crab. Very nice. I mean, how can you even see out of that? It looks very alien, I kind of like that though. We read about what they do in this temple, and it's kind of unnerving. Quite a humble abode they have there. Let's have a look where this lady is trying to run to then. Mark of the tribunal. Before this commanding recovery artifact of her fellow donkey, we have received word that the mask of Visit is being transported from Ravenloft to the unknown ship at the dock. We don't know the destination, only that with civil secrecy, multiple couriers are being used to hijack and steal the masked terror. However, our contact at the dock was the courier, the member of the guard, stole forward, and he has planned with his own for the mask. He's arranged meeting with the fire after midnight at unknown location. His greed angers the goddess, disposing the boat and returning the artifact to her rightful hand. In addition, the goddess' temple is in need of new servants, both for a smaller temple and to provide a valuable service. Speak to priest Ruet. He will hand you a letter to be delivered to the banished priestess, Akira Devon in Ravenloft. Give the threat of the tribunal will translate it so it can be part of the post. When you meet her, be sure to also inquire about the whereabouts of our officer, Intelligence. actually have a key to the armory that we got on her, so... Wow, okay. It looks like I have to only look at the training area. Yeah, what's going to be down there? Very old slippery. And it's all brewing furniture, everything bedroom. Well, that's bed actually. What's this on the floor? Ah, this is the priest. Let's see what we have in the there is a transcript of the lesson about the archive. What is required, as is the law of instruction. Well, as we translate that, I'll do it. Translate. So it is something out of it. To translate, okay. To go back to the right translate. Traveling road is things there, unless they're completely out. A lot of freedom that ocean completely are. Both have fragments, which is called stability. And a lot of different alchemy ingredients too. Also, out of the journal, it is. The recesses journal, it's actually almost complete, but there is work to be done. So much work, and that's not hand. Where once the armory, now only dozens remain. This would not be the case if the matriarch delivered justice to the diviner of those out of his malevolence and about quarters. Instead, she offered him exile, which to me is more than a reward than punishment. Worse yet, he was allowed to sway optimists and few others to join them. How to build that sentimentality of their conversation? I need to remind her we are at war, and every young war wants to be a soldier at the end. Let's carry on down with our camp. Let's take the right stepping area. The changes to this section, I want to click on it. Now let's go to the entrance to the left. Oh, there's actually a hub going here. This is kind of like a player mode as well. Oh, it's got some ash yaks there. Very nice. In the ash decorate how lovely. And a nice big lights and water coming down. Yeah, but apparently have stolen. Then, let's go to the left there. Fine, there is this book. Fine. Hello there. Get ready, sir. Doctor, it's start. Focus still drawing. Letting the focus cell increase your focus cell by 10 points. And it can regenerate 5% faster, that's good. And also increase your magic by another 10 points. So if we get 10% increase in magic regeneration and focus the magic. With this speed, blessing of the pricing on 5% better and sneak is increased by 5%. That's actually very nice. And again, it stacks twice. Oh, we have our election there. We just have these two shrines. I guess this was for the third shrine, you know. Maybe the sculptor now an experiment. We'll have a journal to explain what happens here. Well, there is a journal. Sculptor's journal, the statue of my mastery. Or one true love, so the statue of the one is the main cave entrance. Some say she is too large, too grand, so I would have made her 1,000 feet tall like this. My love is unfighting, and we are this word groveling at her feet. The sculptor's got us stated in the force of anxiety, the pressure, and felt the ship where we lost clothes every turn, and I do so with exacting position. Almost too much there, but the end result was one I hoped to make right. The days, the anxious voices in my head are no more, instead they speak to the potato talking to the routine. I fall into the simple routine made for the shrine, the basic carving to the tribute to the three power excellence or so still at the village. Yet, it is a risk that makes the sculptor an artist. It is daring to turn the ordinary into sublime. I dare to sculpt the goddess once, as I chisel where he dropped the third, doing the same iron work. I wonder, did it too late to be that fold again? Then we have another room up here. There seems to be an office somewhere. Another journal on the that? This is death trap. I think this is the area. Oh, what's in here? A mallet pumpkin. There, dang it. Okay, let's read this journal. When I first entered the Great Chamber, I was there again, in the high chapel nestled in Hercules. The great pillars surrounded the church, where the goddess Almalexia once. I think it blew up in fire and water. All the holes had skeleton skin to reveal a temple of rock and bone. I knew then that the stone was the heart of our goddess. And through space the love and sweat we had slowly restored her flesh. Now that it's almost complete, my thoughts turned to my old friend Urza Roselle. He was the diviner who scurried and brought us to this holy place. Without him, none of this would be possible. Yet time and toil changed him. To the point I questioned his devotion. Wherever he is, I hope he has regained his love for her. The love of my work is not to end here. With her hand open, sweep under her banner and dead, and let the light of our city shine on the surface and touch them alive. What heretics indeed, I like it. A red candle. I haven't seen a red candle. So this way must be the armory. Aha. After the ashen heart, why is it so... What the hell? Hello. Activate mannequin. Oh, it's like fun. I'm reloading it to help. They're now laying down. Looks any foods in the armory, so they've got all the armor sets that we actually previously found. That's pretty cool. This is a pretty good one. Help them. There's also a display case here with enemy signatures in. All the ones there, how is everything? Lights of day. That's unique weapon. Even then, what's in there? Lights of day, 50 points of sun damage. Undead targets take 50 damage. It's like a shot weapon, actually. Really nice design for the better for that on that. Another enemy thing. Ooh, Mega Bay! This is for Morrowind. Okay, let's have a bit. Yeah, very cool. Really love the look of this door. Really nice. Right, let's have a look at here. It's Skull Crusher. Also a unique weapon from Morrowind. Skull Crusher does 30 points of stamina damage. Very nice to see. Mage Bay, or not Mega Bay. Mage Bay does 60 points of magic damage. Mega Bay. Oh dear. Oh, we have another gem in here as well. We have the Priest of Notes. Now, what's that? This mannequin has the Moth of Almalexia on it. The Moth of Almalexia does have 21 armor. So this is the one we saw in the trailer, and it was insanely beautiful. I mean, look at the colors on that. It's like gold and blue, kind of like corroded form. Looks incredibly cool. And then the back plate, it looks like the back of your head slightly, I guess. Using another orange sharp system. Okay, so there's also a note here which goes next to it. The matriarch does not speak of what remains locked behind the gate. He states our way is to serve the goddess and the tribunal, but turn this towards the right. The artifact speaks to us, and fearless heartbeat rattling in my head like a loose drum. Rattle, rattle, rattle. A curious song, not a heart of blood but stirred, yet the gate remains for all intents and purposes impenetrable. And neither levels or shades and secret buttons under the display cases. There is nothing here, save for a few broken pillars and mannequins. In fact, I grew so wary of the stairs I covered their faces with masks. It was not until that moment that the solution came to me. What if the mannequins themselves are the key? 3 faces and 3 masks of the tribunal works. Which mask show them which face? When memory fails, I go to the sculptor's room and pray and try so that I can match the blessing with a symbol. Until now, I can only solve the puzzle without the mask. It is useless. Ernest hates it when I worry. He tells me to be patient, but for half or not, our masters will show us the way. I have no choice but to believe. Use the mannequin to solve the puzzle. Very cool idea for a puzzle, in fact. And I believe this could be So we need to grab the final pass and then we can come back and solve this puzzle. It turns out the statue of Alma Alexia just beneath it is right to Alma Alexia. So now we can have a look at what's actually affecting now. So this increases our heavy armor skill by 10 points and one hammer weapon 10% more damage. Isn't that probably add up 20% to the stack 20% heavy armor? Let's head outside and have a look at the rest of the fight of the car. Yeah, please follow this up. So we're back in Britain at Rock now, and we're just going to find this translator who apparently is residing in Britain of mine. I believe it is actually a translator. So I know that I was told you to translate these letters. Of course. Wait 2 hours to let them back out. Wait. Whilst I'm left, we've just translated them. Alright, let's have a read of these lessons before we actually go ahead and give them away. Propaganda lessons. You have lost the temple, but you are not one. The right place exists in the wrong time. Notice when the great neighbor down, cracked open upon his rotting guilt, spilled into the distant priests and heretics, full of lies and falsehoods, and gave shade to Ottawa and his reclamation. But in reality, the Bible spewed by the lie wrong cannot fool a minister of truth for long. The tribunal will rise once more, and the grand inquisitor will judge all from the beginning, the entry to our temple is the ending of worlds. I also understand that the temple curator came missing. You see so? Give me my other notes. Curating medicine, please. People of whoever is reading this, I need your help. Well, it's a stupid thing to write. Of course you're reading this and you wouldn't be staring at the paper and not reading it, would you? Doesn't that seem illiterate or mad? Not angry, mad, because I clip my toenail to a fork, mad. You get what I mean? Point is, I think I found it. The mask of Sofa Seal, in Agrenzo, a dwarven labyrinth with a surprisingly high vowel count. It is high up on the Veloci Mountains, and you are a Veloci too. Funny how that works out. There is just one problem. I caught myself in some contraption, and now I'm not sure where I am. I decided to make camp here, and I have some nerves I hired to find out. You can't write or read or put together a coherent thought, but that's why I'm giving him this lesson. Really, I should have just taken the mask and left the orb. You'd think I'd know better than to pull, retract, that's obvious. But the orb was glowing, fusing. It's kind of lonely. Side note, we come across the rescue. Do not touch the orb. Agrenzo is one of the most unique dungeons in Skyrim, so that's really cool.
Be careful out there.
Agrenzo is in very south towards Skyrim, so let's go back to Skyrim to do this quest and get that mask. But before we do that, we did give out these other lessons. Then we need to go back to read the rock temple to do this.